Hey there, mamas. It's your girl, Nina Shay, aka Mama Bear. This is the Mama Bear podcast, and I have very special guests. I always have special guests, but this lady is so exciting to have her on with me tonight. I am sitting with Miss Brandee Guyton. How are you, Brandee?
I'm good. Thank you for having me.
Good, absolutely. So we've been knowing each other for a while, and Brandee we have that commonality in that our sons both were wide receivers. Her son is a wide receiver. My son played wide receiver in college, but Jalen Guyton, and he has been in the NFL for how many years, Brandee?
Uh, if we get a new contract, this will be year 7. So
Okay, year
yeah,
7.
lucky
Wonderful.
number. We're hoping for lucky number 7.
Oh, well, I hope that, and we'll be praying for that too.
We're
So,
praying for it.
Jalen, he started out with the Cowboys,
Yes.
right, in 2019.
hmm
Okay. And then the Chargers, he played with the Chargers
For
for, was
five
it
years. hmm
5 years?
Yeah.
Wow,
Yeah.
wonderful. And I remember, I mean, those that will know who he is and pay more attention, like now
Right.
that he hears his name and meeting
Right.
you. But he's a heck of a player, and he's contributed greatly to each program because after the Chargers, he played for the Raiders.
Yes.
Correct. Yeah.
Right.
And so he's always, made incredible plays. He's been an outstanding gentleman, a human being,
Thank
which,
you.
is something that I always admired.
Thank
And just your family dynamics definitely, drew me to you and made me want to have you on just to talk
you.
with our moms and everyone that will be tuning in. So you have not just Jalen, but how many kids do you have
I have
total?
3.
Three.
Jalen's the oldest. He's
Uh-huh.
28. I have a middle daughter, Sydney. She's 26, and Sloan is 23. She'll be 24 in January.
Wonderful. And you just became a grandmother was it a couple years ago?
2 years ago, yeah. Jalen
Yeah.
has 2 little girls now.
Oh,
Jude
wow.
is 2. Jude was born in April 2024. No, 23. Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah. She's 2. And then Sylvia will turn 1 October 27th.
Oh, how
So
beautiful.
they have their hands full, and we help out a lot, and we love it, and just so happy they're in Texas. And yeah.
That's wonderful.
Mhm.
And you do all that, and you are an educator. You're a teacher for fourth graders?
Actually, actually, I'm not. I don't teach anymore. I took a
Okay.
position, full time position with the nonprofit
Okay, wonderful.
organization. Yeah, but I
All right.
did teach for 18 years. Last, I was in Anna ISD. It's about 20
Mhm.
minutes north of here. I taught 12 years in Allen
Uh-huh.
at the same elementary school, and all 3 of my kids went through that elementary school with me. So
Really?
that was a very special, special, special time.
I'm sure.
So yeah, and the kids grew up here in Allen. We were in Irving prior to moving here. So Jalen started school in Irving, but went primarily through Allen from second grade on. The girls went all the way through Allen. So we're Allen Eagles through and through. So we're proud of that. But yes, I was in education for 18 years,
Wonderful.
but had the opportunity, and I just say God blessed me with this job. I love teaching. I love what I did, but it's gotten a lot more difficult.
I'm sure.
Yeah. And I left once before and went into the business world. It was a company that dealt with schools and educators and stuff like that. So I kind of, and I was teaching people to use the software. It was a online records management system. And so honestly, I was still teaching. So I just say I'd really honestly never left education. That was
Right.
only 1 year.
Right.
But anyway, 18 full years in education, and
Yes.
like you said, it's changed a lot.
Yes, it
Teachers
has.
have met a lot of challenges. Um, I loved it, but
Mhm.
again, I was lucky enough to get this position, and people ask me what I do now. Well,
Mhm.
I just talk to any and every. My job basically is talk to any and everybody that will listen to me about what the organization does, in
Mhm.
hopes that we can find the children that we can serve. Um,
Okay.
so, and the mission of the nonprofit is so amazing, and what we do is so amazing. So I'm like, I really lucked into this job because I can talk to anybody.
Right.
And I can really talk to anybody about something that's as good as what we do. So.
Yes, it's something that's in your heart. Okay, so you have to tell us what is the name of the foundation, and then if you could elaborate. I mean, obviously you just said what you did, but what exactly, do
Absolutely.
you do in
Absolutely.
the space? Mhm.
Yeah, it's Be an Angel.
Uh-huh.
We're a nonprofit organization actually celebrating 40 years this year
Congratulations.
that they've been around. I've
Uh-huh.
only been around for a little while, but I feel like, anyway, it's an amazing position. But what we do, our mission is to provide adaptive equipment, hearing devices, support programs, select services to children with special needs. And we help across the state of Texas from birth to 22. Basically, what we do, if a family needs a wheelchair, a specified car seat, anything they may need for their child with special needs, and they don't have a means to get it, either insurance or Medicaid won't pay for it, they don't have any of those things, they can come to us and apply. So it's such an amazing organization. Like I said, I can talk to anybody, and when you're talking about something so amazing and you're helping people that truly need you, so easy. We have a partnership or programs that we do help school districts as well, but that's just a small piece of what we do. Mainly we focus on finding those families that need us. And yeah. So they started in Houston and just opened the DFW chapter a couple of years ago and decided to come here to start spreading the word because they found there were about 22,000 children in the DFW area that would fall into who we can help. And we don't have it's not a income-based program. We do look at income and expenses, but typically the people that are looking for help are going to qualify with us. It's usually not those people that, anyway, but yeah. We help on a case-by-case basis. We look at each individual application as it is.
And I would imagine that, that's the best way to go about it because, sometimes when people are dealing with injuries and they're dealing with life-changing, occurrences, sometimes you just don't know, you're not prepared. So, I would think that you want to be available to help people who need, without all of the red tape and then trying to look at, every aspect of their finances, etc. But that is so very necessary. And I can only imagine that the organization is busier now because right now, more than any other time, people are in such need from everything. And we're looking at, obviously this is stemming from something from health, dealing with health, if they have some kind of disability. Or again something that happened and now they're not able to get around like they were or needed assistance to get to and from I guess their doctor visits. Do you do that as well? Do you provide transportation?
We don't provide transportation. There are lots I've learned so much coming into this. We don't do that, but there are so many organizations that will help with transportation. I've even found, because people are looking for to get a car, I've even found that there are organizations out there that will help families, not just with special needs children, just anyone across the board. They'll help get a vehicle, and it's gifted. I mean, I've learned a lot. and as you said, it's such a needed, our organization's 40 years old, and we're becoming, within the last couple of years, kind of that stopgap place for families when insurance and Medicaid won't pay. They can come to us for the equipment, not for, there are organizations that help with other things, but for equipment specific, we are kind of becoming that place that families have to go to because they don't have the means. I mean, I'm learning so much. Thankfully, I don't have a child with special needs. I've always said, being a teacher and my middle daughter, her best friend during middle school and high school, her brother, who went to our elementary school, I taught with her mom, had Duchenne's muscular dystrophy. And so he was in a wheelchair, and he passed away a couple of years ago. But I say all this to say, that being so close to home,
Yes.
I mean, even when you don't have that close to home, you do
You
feel
still
like
feel
I'm
those
so blessed.
moms.
I'm so
Yeah.
blessed. Like, because these families have to deal with so much. And
Mhm.
right now, with the landscape of everything that's going on and cuts being made, and, you know,
Mhm.
nobody knows what's happening with healthcare and Medicaid and things like that. And these families depend on this. And
They
so
do.
we're happy to be able to be that that place they can turn. And a lot of times the families will be like, or, you know, I think they think it's too good to be true because it sounds like it is, but it's
Mhm.
not. You know, we have the money and we're here to help. We're here to serve. And they were, the reason I was hired is because they were, with the organization's been blessed with just some amazing donors and
Mhm.
um, you know, repeat donors, and we've gotten some grants and things. So they brought me in to help spread the word. I mean, like I said, that's what I do, but we're
That's
extremely
wonderful.
blessed to have the money to do what we do,
Right.
because these families just need it so
That's
bad.
And do you help families just across, I guess, the United States, or are you
The state of
specific
Texas.
state of
State of
Texas?
Texas. From birth to 22.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Wow. That
We
that
also
is
take families to camp 4 times a year. That's where I was this
oh,
summer. I
really
mean, this weekend.
okay.
And they get to go to camp. It's a family camp experience, so the whole family
Nice.
goes. And
Uh-huh.
I just met some incredible families. Like I said, it just, every single day is just such a blessing to, you know, do what I do, but
Mhm.
also just remind me of, and I remind my family all the time. I sent a screenshot in our family group the other day of it. We got
Mhm.
an email, and it was our needs assessment committee had gone over some applications for families, and
Okay.
this equipment's like range from 5,000 to 15 to
Sure.
like a lot of money. And
Yes.
these are families that really, really, really need these things, and they don't have the means. And I just sent a little screenshot, and it was just a snippet because it was on a spreadsheet, right? And it's just a little snippet. And I sent it to them, and I said, look at, first of all, the child and the age. Look at
Mm-hmm.
their diagnosis. Some of them have multiple diagnoses.
Mm.
Look at what they need,
Yeah.
and they can't get it. And it
Yeah.
could be something as simple as a wheelchair or a specified car seat or something that the family, you know, needs to get somewhere. A van lift, you know, maybe they've been able to put a wheelchair in the back of the car, but now
Right.
that's changed, and the child is older or the car is old, you know, whatever. And I just felt compelled that particular day. I was like, obviously don't share this with anyone. Not that they would, but I'm like, look at
Right.
this
For
and
them to
realize
see.
how blessed.
Yes.
Like, we might not have it all, but we've got a lot that we don't have to worry about.
That is
And
so
there are a
true.
lot of
And
families
I
that
do
have
things
so
like
much.
Yes, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to step
No,
on you.
you're fine.
But I do things like that with my son also and other family members, just like you said, to remind them because sometimes we're in our world and, our what we consider to be a crisis, and sometimes it's
Right.
small, but it's so important to us.
Right.
And just to say, look how fortunate we are, and that's
Absolutely.
important to do. And you always, from your post and just from what I know about you through mutual friends Stacy and other people, I could see how you have that motherly um just kind of vibe about you. So I can see how you not only bringing a skill set to this particular foundation to be able to reach out and contact people and let people know about the foundation and get as much support as possible. But I could see how this could really mean something so much to you,
Oh,
because we
absolutely.
are mothers, we're nurturers, and
It really
I
does. Just to
see.
be on
Yeah.
the end of helping
Yes.
someone in such a huge way, it's
Hmm.
just amazing. And real quick, two of our so the DFW, one of our DFW executive board members is Mike Renfro, former Cowboy,
Okay.
and Dan Pastorini is our um, one of our executive board members in Houston, and they
Hmm.
played football together way back in the day.
Right.
So we have, athletes in the mix, and that's always fun for me too, just
Yeah.
to to just have that kind of
Those
connection with
connections. Yeah.
these men who are not only wonderful men in their communities and
Mhm.
what they do for the organization, but people know them outside of that. But it's nice to also have that mixed with what I do, I guess, because I
Yes.
am such a huge football fan.
Yes, yes. And then thinking about mothers and just women in general in that space, philanthropically,
Right.
working with foundations, with, people in sports. And like you being a mother, I know many mothers who actually run, they're the president or,
Right.
they've to find or found um, their sons foundations.
Mhm.
So just thinking about like the fact that you can marry those two is so important because having a, an athlete, that in that space, that's such a great platform. And there are so many resources that they can tap into, and everybody's looking to do good in the community. So
Right.
it's great, like you said, that you're able to kind of bring those two together. Um, I wanted to ask you about we're in football season. And like I said, this is how we've come to know each other. And speaking about athletes in the community, what during this time when Jalen is looking to sign with another team,
Mhm.
what are some of the ways that he's been involved with the community? Because I've seen you post, about different camps and
Mhm.
giveaways and things like that, like back to school and church or, uh, events. What are
Mhm.
some of the ways that you and Jalen work together to, give back to the community?
Um, he he doesn't ever like to, I mean, he's a giver, he's got
Hmm.
a great heart, but he never wants to be. I've tried to get him to, like, let's do some sort of foundation, something like that, but he never wants it to be about him.
Like him.
He's not a put me out there kind of guy. But in my last school, he did cover the last year I was there. We had several, I don't know, maybe 20 children that still had not been taken care of for Christmas, because we had an angel tree. It was a Title I district across the board.
Hmm.
It's a growing area, so they won't be like that forever. But the school I was at was definitely a Title I district and our school, and we had a lot of families that just needed a lot of help. And um, I called him one day and I said, "Hey, this is what," and we were like about to get out for Christmas, right? Like it was like, it's either, who's going to do this, right? And so I
Right.
called him like, "Hey, could you do this?" He was like, "Absolutely, Mom, do it. Just go get whatever you need to get." And so it makes me tear up thinking about it. But when I called and told our counselor and our nurse, who were kind of heading it up, they were like, "Oh my gosh, that's so amazing," And so he did that, and he'll always do whatever, you know, he'll
Is
do
needed.
whatever I ask him to do easily. He's been up to the Allen football team a couple of times when he's been home, and spoke to them. The coaches asked, for him to come and do that. I'm currently working on getting some um, gear for him, and I'm trying to figure out what other players I can do.
Uh-huh.
But have them, he'll donate it for me. He'll help me out. He'll donate. But I want to get some gear. They're having the Touchdown Club has. I spoke at that about 2 years ago,
Hmm.
um, and they are having a golf tournament. So I was like, I reached out and somehow missed the banquet they have that I
Hmm.
spoke at a couple of years ago. And so I was like, "Oh," and they said, "Oh, we have a golf tournament." Like, well, let me help with that. And so and in fact, that was one of the things Jalen and I talked about on the phone a minute ago. He was
Okay.
going to one of his teammates' house out that he played. He actually played North Texas with them, but he played on the
Mhm.
Chargers with them as well. Kimon
Oh, really?
Hall.
Okay.
He was going out to his house, and I said, "Hey, I've talked to you and Kimon both about, we've got our Purses and Prosecco event coming up, so y'all need
Mhm.
to let me know if y'all are gonna, donate a purse, or just send me the money to go buy it or whatever." But so he's always willing to do, um, whatever I ask him to do, you know.
Yeah.
But like I said, he's not the kind of person that wants to go, okay, yeah, mom, let's
The
set
out
up this
front.
kind of foundation. Or, yeah, he never wants to be the out front guy. In fact, I tell people that don't know him, I'm like, if you met him, say on a plane somewhere and you got started talking, if you asked him what he did, he probably wouldn't tell you that he played in the
Yeah.
NFL. He
Yeah.
probably would just say, I'm a dad, or what. It's just not what he does.
Yeah.
Which
And I
no
love
one can
about
fault you for saying that's what you do if that's what you do and
Mhm.
people don't recognize you. But a lot of them just are like, I don't want to. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
just a dad or whatever, you know.
Understand that, because you have so much more to your life. And then sometimes people really do get caught up in the football player aspect. And
Right.
even sometimes I can imagine, because I've had conversations with people when they learned that my son played football, just sometimes the conversations can be a little, they can be
Yeah.
a little weird sometimes.
Yes.
If you know like
Yes.
what team you're playing for or what their feeling is about something, you're
Right.
like, okay.
Absolutely. Or yeah, how they feel about athletes in general.
Yes,
Sometimes they
that
just
part
some,
too.
some people have a not a good view of athletes in general, and
You're right.
you know
Sometimes they don't feel, that like they're as serious. Sometimes they don't respect that, especially like in college, which was, where my son played, that this is a student athlete, not just a person that plays football.
right.
This young man is
And
in
they're
college.
also young men,
Yes, that
very
part.
young men. Let them be young men. Yes, they
That's
need to
true.
be respectful
That's
and do the
true.
right things, but guess what? They're young men. They're gonna mess up, and
That's true.
so yeah.
And when you think about like with your son's career, he's played on three different teams, and sometimes, and I know he's endured injury, and sometimes people are just looking at the player and what can they do for me? What can they do for this team right now? And if you can't do it, you're not able to, or whatever the case may be, you're not valued in the same way,
Mm-mm.
and that can just be so hurtful. It can be so
Yeah,
insensitive because some people are truly coming from a fan's,
right.
point of view and
Yeah,
not really looking at the person as a whole, a
right.
human being.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Or like you said, a
Right,
son,
right,
but
right, right.
yeah,
That there are people after this is a job for them. It's like a
yeah,
job for everybody else.
it
I
really,
have a good little story to go with exactly what you're talking about. So early on, when Jalen got with the Chargers, it might have not been the first year, maybe the second year. He was doing an interview, and they had it on Facebook, and it was right after practice, and I think somebody was commenting on uh, what he was wearing, and so, I don't even know, but one of one of my husband's cousins messaged me. She was like, "Oh my gosh, how do you do this? I just had to go off on somebody." And I said, "Get out of the comments." I said,
right.
"You can't. You just can't." And people have asked me before, and as much as sometimes I would like to, you
Mhm.
cannot get in that. You can't. Um, you just gotta. I just said you have to. She was like, "How do you do this? How do you?" And I said, "Girl, you stay out of the comments. That's what you do. You just, that people are dumb, and sometimes they don't think about what they say,
They don't.
and they're not thinking that he's a
That's
human being. Like, do you want somebody tearing your child down like that? They don't
yeah,
think like that
absolutely.
before they say it. They don't think like that.
Yeah.
And I can't say that I'm always, obviously we're human. We're always gonna slip up somewhere, but I hope that I would never, ever, well, I know I wouldn't. I was a
Hmm.
teacher. I know what it's like to just, I mean, even if I wasn't a teacher, I think it just boils down to being a good human being. Like,
Absolutely.
you can
Yeah.
you can criticize or be critical in a way that is um, more constructive than a lot of the things we see. So anyway, I just had to tell you that. I'm like, you just have to stay out of the comments. You
You
can't.
do. And every sports mom, especially once your child is playing at that level, where people in public are aware of them, every sports mom that I know of says the same thing. Now, some of them say, you know what, I get right in there and I have to, I have to
I
tell
can't.
them too. But yeah, because then it becomes a thing where you can actually be in a debate like
Yes.
online with someone, and
Yes.
people can be mean.
Oh,
And especially now. Now is a time when you don't really want to engage because you
no,
never know where that's going to go.
no.
And some people, like there was a saying someone, said the other day, you can't help stupid. And I mean that in a
No,
way that
you
there are some
can't.
things that are just ignorant, and you can't, no matter what you say, no matter what you do, you can't fix that.
Right.
So you let them be who they are, and handle things the way that they do. But I wonder, how does Jalen handle the critics, and how does he handle uh, you know yeah, people's opinions about what he's doing, how he's doing it, or if he's not playing, or some of the times, if when he's gotten injured and wasn't able to contribute, like in the same way with a particular team. How does he handle those ups and downs in public?
Um, he doesn't. He really doesn't give it
Hmm.
the time of day. He's not gonna go out and um, he's gonna stay out of the comments. He's
Yeah.
not gonna engage. He's not gonna go look for it.
Right.
He's got pretty thick skin, but
Right.
I know internally. And you
Yeah.
asked how does he handle it externally, but
Yeah.
internally, I know it's really hard on him. I know he's hard on
Yeah.
himself. He wants to be out there playing. He doesn't want to be on
Hmm.
the sideline. He's never been like that. Um,
Hmm.
he just wants to play. That's his last season in Vegas. He got out there and he was excited, but
Hmm.
they never really gave him a shot. He was in the preseason, and then he kept thinking he might get a shot, and things were so different there than they were with the Chargers. Culturally,
Hmm.
discipline wise, just all kinds of things. Um, and he struggles with not being out there to help. Um, Even early on when he went out with the Chargers and was on the practice squad,
Hmm.
um, he didn't know anything different
Hmm.
because he was just with the Cowboys for the preseason, so he didn't know anything different about being on the roster yet, right?
Hmm.
So he did work hard, and he knew he took that job very serious, and he knew what he was doing was important. And then I think once you actually get on the roster and you're on the field and you're wide receiver three,
Hmm.
after that it's hard to go back from that. So I know in the very beginning, I mean, not that he wouldn't take it serious, not that he didn't take it serious being on the practice squad. It's just a
Right.
hard pill to swallow.
Absolutely.
It's like being demoted, and it's like wondering every single year
Are you going to
what's
get
going to
back?
happen. Yeah,
Yeah.
am I going to get there? Am I not? And it's a just such a grueling process. It's
Hmm.
a love hate relationship with football, and for a long time.
Hmm. Trust me, I
It's
know.
a very thin line, it's
Yeah.
hard,
So
because
how do you
child
do?
wants it so bad
That's
and they
true.
love it.
Yeah.
You want it for them. And
Yes,
then, if it doesn't go exactly the way you want it, it's just really tough
that's
to
true.
kind of, okay, we just have to go with it. You don't have a choice.
Yeah. And what do you find is your way of helping him to be grounded? Is it just taking those times when he's away and coming home to spend time with you and his daughters and the family, having family time? Do you, do you pray together a lot? Like, what do you do to help him to be centered? Because a lot of times they come to us in some way or another for that
Mhm.
comfort.
Mhm. Yeah, I'm always just trying to be encouraging and
Yeah.
letting him know, especially now that he's a husband and a father, that or even before that, like you're so much more to me than just a football player.
That part.
Always know that, I'm proud of you no matter what. If you never got called by the Chargers and he made a touchdown with the Cowboys, like guess what? That was enough.
Yeah.
You made it, honestly. And then he went on to play for 6 years, and it's just always just reminding him of his faith,
Mhm.
reminding him to keep that first and foremost, always just reminding him that to go to God first before you go to anybody else. And really to pray that God puts you where he wants you, and to take you where he wants you. That's what I've kind of learned to be my prayer. It's not, oh, I wish, obviously he's living in Texas now. I wish the Cowboys would sign him. But my true prayer is that God leads him where he wants him. And I think that he had him in in great places around great people. He's made lifelong friends and, coach, having these coaches. And so I think just reminding him that he's more than a football player. We're proud of him no matter what. You have so many more things going for you in life. That's just your job. We're proud of you for that too, but we're proud of you every single day.
Yes.
Just reminding him to keep the faith and always, I guess, just to go to God first, and stay positive. I just try to stay positive. I'm like, you got to stay positive about, and he's a very positive person. So maybe it's worked.
It has to be, because to navigate like for all these years,
right?
And he's always been someone who's a stand up player and person, and never, even though like you said they're young so they get in trouble, but
Right.
all you read about is good things about him, and actually how he actually is a leader in the room, so that makes a difference, especially if for him, even if he's not playing at the time, and if he's on the practice squad, he's contributing in other ways too. And that's one thing that they do have to keep in mind. There's always someone who's watching you, and there's another
Right.
guy coming in who has not had any of the opportunity that you've had. So
Right.
obviously they have to be examples, and that makes a big difference. Being that leader and setting the example in the locker room and just on the sidelines sometimes. I mean, that's a heck of a contribution, and he's still, like you said, it's a job, and he's getting paid.
Right.
So it's a good thing that he is reminded, to rely on his faith and to be patient. And like you
Right.
said, to
Right.
hope to be where God wants you to be versus, where somebody else wants you to be or where you think you should be.
Right. Right. Right.
So that's a great thing. But he's married, and I wonder his wife, um, how does she navigate? And is her temperament, more like yours, or
Oh yeah, she's amazing. She's
yeah,
laid back like Jalen,
uh,
in the sense that she knows that what's supposed to happen will happen, and she's obviously his number one supporter.
mhm,
Maybe number two, because I think mom's number one. In their home, maybe number one
yeah,
supporter.
yeah,
But no, she's amazing, and she's always just when they got together, she never even um, really, she said she didn't. So, funny story, the way
uh-huh,
they met, a friend of hers is a huge Chargers fan, and um, she had got in contact with Jalen some kind of way. Ended up, they were all going to be at, and Jalen never goes to, he's not a bar guy.
mhm,
Um, he's, they'll go now, but growing up in college and stuff like that, just not a bar guy. But
uh-huh,
the way they met is this friend wanted to meet him and some of his friends out, and he ended up going out that night. And the friend, I guess Jalen ended up being more Sarah's type than the friend's type. But it was so, I always say, like, oh my gosh, what a complete God thing. Because number one, he doesn't go out. Number
uh,
two, it was like not the girl that thought she was gonna like talk to Jalen. It ended
right,
up being the
yeah,
friend, and she's from actually Orange County, and he was in Texas. She was living in Texas at the time, and they met in Texas because he was home for the off season. And so it's just crazy the way the world works. But
right,
I was happy and relieved in that story, in that, not that someone who is a sports fan and knows a lot about the team and maybe sought you out for whatever reason.
mhm,
Um, and I don't know, I'm not saying that that's a bad thing, but and sometimes it works out great. There are a lot of relationships that I see. They're like, oh, he slid in my DMs, and that's fine. It works out great, but it's like sometimes because they are an athlete, you just really worry about what is going to, is this person really going to be good for you? And he's not even one of these players that makes several $1,000,000. I mean, he makes a great living at what he does, but undrafted guys don't make a lot of money a lot of times. But still,
there are people that are searching.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
she's just such a great, and it's crazy because her mom is a huge Chargers fan. So but she's like, I never really pay attention to football, blah, 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 and to a mom of an athlete, that's music to my ears, baby. Like, you don't what? So you're not here for that, like that's
right.
just, it was nice to know, that, and like I said, not that it wouldn't have worked out any different. She's the same person if she was a huge, maybe even if she had been
Love
a
football.
fan, yeah, you never know, but so yeah, it was just, in fact, his game that we met her at is the first NFL game she's ever been to, so it was for him. So, and that's just cool, I think. I mean, like I said, not to speak bad about women who are sports fans and then they end up with a sports player like that. A good person is a good person. It doesn't matter, but it's just crazy how his story and her story worked out and how they met. And but yeah, she's amazing. She just, she's always there to support him. And kind of in this last, once he was released by the Raiders, and he was kind of having some doubts as to whether, is this what I want to do, because he wasn't being put on the field. And the business of the NFL really doesn't sit well with him. He wants to play football. And he sees the business, and so there are these players that they may be good or they may not be that good, but the team puts a lot of money into them. And when they put a lot of money into them, they're going to go ahead and have to promote them. And a lot of times there are specific plays for them. And a lot of times, just a lot of that. And when you're an undrafted player, you don't typically get that. You don't get that piece.
Attention. Well, I have to ask you, what does that, like, what are some of the reasons? I mean, just in general, what do you see, like, when the NFL, because right now we're in this day where, talking about, let's say, Shedeur Sanders, there's a reason why it's happening this way, and then there's a reason why it's not happening that way. And everybody's got really strong views, and there are so many different scenarios, and what we're seeing is something that we've kind of we haven't seen it in this way before. Especially with all the talk about Shedeur Sanders and where he should be and what they should be doing and what they're not doing and where he comes from. But there, obviously, like you said, the NFL they do decide sometimes, this is our guy.
Yeah.
Or we want this guy to be that. And like you said, you could have somebody else that's still in the program that is capable, or whatever the case may be. There might even be somebody that's more capable, right? That's not who the attention is on. Why do you think they do that? What is that about?
I think for drafted players, especially the higher drafted players, my opinion is that we wanted you this bad and we drafted you this high, and we're going to make it work.
Okay.
No matter what. That's my opinion. I don't know. I mean, I feel like it's one of those things where they don't want to be wrong with
whatever
this player was projected here and we're taking them, and this is,
right.
But then sometimes that doesn't work out, that their college ability doesn't necessarily work out.
Translate,
It's a totally different game. It's a totally different game. So
And then
I
the
don't
ones that
know. I
aren't
just
drafted come out, and all of a sudden you're like,
right.
"Where's this guy been?" No, he's been there.
Yeah, yeah,
Just wasn't, round one, two, or three, or not drafted.
right,
So
right.
yeah.
Yeah. And so I just feel like it's a lot of times they're just, maybe it's the pride in it is
Hmm.
we spend a lot, because it's out there. That's a big deal,
Yeah.
that who they draft high up and that kind of thing. I feel like it's just, I don't know, that's my opinion, that it's just
Mhm.
they just don't want to be wrong.
Right.
There are players that they will, you know, write specific plays for and do
Mhm.
specific things for that, you know, not everybody's going to get. And so it's like sometimes, and this is not across the board, I don't think, but
Mhm.
sometimes it's we've got this player and we are going to make them show them as a success no matter what.
Yeah.
When you may have guys either sitting at home or on your practice squad, or they're the sixth receiver or the second quarterback, whatever it is, the second linebacker, whatever it is,
Hmm.
that might be a better decision, but they're a no name. Nobody
Um,
knows them.
yeah.
I don't know. From the years we've been around
Hmm.
and the
Hmm.
things we've seen, you know, it's kind of the way it is. And a lot of times, it depends on the culture of the team and the things like that. That's been interesting to learn too. That Jalen has kind of let us in on that. You know, he might have been with one player over here,
Hmm.
and then he got cut, and I'll hear my son say, man, like, great player, great this, great that, and then all of a sudden they're, and they're friends, and then all of a sudden they're cut, and you're like, why, why were they cut? And he's like, well, you know sometimes the culture of the team and
Hmm.
and what they want doesn't mix with this particular player. Yeah, they're an athlete, crazy athlete, great
Yeah.
athlete, but for whatever reason that just didn't mesh, the culture of the team, and then the background, and the, I guess, the temperament and the attitude, and it's all the
Mhm.
things of the player
Yeah.
don't mix well with. So
But
I
like
think
you
that
said,
happens a lot of times, and people don't know, because how would you know? I wouldn't know.
that's true. That's true. And as you said, it's a business. So, I mean, that happens in corporations,
Right,
everywhere,
right,
where, somebody could just be so qualified, somebody could have done a great job, and, then sometimes they won't get the promotion, but then they'll have to train the person that got the job, right? And you're like,
right.
huh?
Yes, yes.
And then there is a culture everywhere where either you
Mhm.
fit in or you don't.
Right.
And a lot of times it really is about that. And I've seen in preseason, you see guys that come out there and they don't necessarily have the name, and, maybe they were undrafted or maybe they were just later in the draft, and they come out and they're doing some really good stuff,
Right,
like, during camp and everything. And you're like, oh,
right.
this might be the year. And then the next thing there's nothing.
Yeah,
So
they're
it is
cut.
so
Yeah.
hard to understand. But it's a new day in football from what I see. First of all, coming from college, like my son, he did not have the benefit of being a paid rock star
Right.
in college. And then, these guys are coming into the league. And like you said, it is all about money. It's about image. Some of the decisions, that the teams are making, you just really don't understand.
Mhm.
Um, and you probably never will. But it's
Right.
such a different day right now. Like it's you remember, like, years ago we were always told that, okay, so the best player is going to be on the field, or
Right.
come and do your job,
Yeah.
just no trouble, just do your
Right.
job, do a good job, and you'll get an opportunity.
Yeah.
Well, I realize that the higher up you get, into the NFL, everybody can't just get on the field and play.
Right.
But it is just so different where you do wonder, what's the right way? And how can boys get a fair shake? I say boys because they're always our boys, but you know that everybody isn't going to make it. It's that 1%, or so 2% that's getting into the league, and
Right.
then when you get there, you're there and you're doing a fantastic job, but there's always this guy that's coming straight out of college who's the next
Mhm.
phenomenon, and
Mhm.
he's drafted, like you said, if he's drafted in the first round, there are expectations now. We got to get him out there.
Right.
So it's a really interesting business, and I can
It
see.
is.
See, Jalen sounds like he would probably be, his personality is similar to my son. So the business aspect of it, you know,
Mhm.
he probably
Yeah.
wouldn't be too thrilled about it. But a hell of a player, he just
Right.
wants to get out there and play
Right.
and do,
Right.
do what you would expect him to do.
Right.
So that is amazing. But you are a veteran NFL mom,
I
and
am.
I mean, you've seen it, like you said, you've lived it, and you've had those different experiences with your son coming in and enduring injury, coming back from that, and then playing on a number of teams. And then you recently, not recently, I mean, how many years has it been that you started the Moms of the NFL?
About 2 years.
Okay,
Two. Well, no, 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 no. Probably. Ooh, I
three
guess it's been longer
years.
than that.
Yeah.
Maybe
So
3 years
maybe
now.
let's say
Yeah.
3 years or
Yeah.
so. So you started this group because
Mhm.
obviously, like I said, you're a veteran NFL mom, but what is it? What was the reason? What motivated you to start this group?
Um, just because I still I love the women of the NFL
Yes.
Instagram and and I was like, what? I would like to just meet more moms and have more of a mom perspective. And I haven't grown it like I should, like I could, or I don't know, if I could, but like I want to, I guess.
Yes.
Um, hasn't grown like I wanted it to as much yet, but there's still time. And my hope was just to connect with more moms, kind of like Stacy did for all of us with the college football
Yes.
moms. Like that was just amazing to have, and met you through there, and met
Yes.
some amazing women through that group. And that's just kind of what I wanted to do, and just have that camaraderie, and just to celebrate moms and
Mhm.
their sons, and how amazing their sons are, and what the mom's role is in all of it. So that's kind of what I wanted to do and still want to do. I just um, I struggle at times with trying to build it. I do need to get back on that. But
Yeah.
maybe posting this and all that. Maybe I'll get some. I got to get some more moms and start.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's such a great way, like you said, like, the college football moms, which Stacy started and, kind of put us all together. There weren't many places we would talk to each other on the phone.
Right.
And we would talk about some of our experiences. And
Right.
sometimes we would cry, sometimes
Yeah.
we would scream, we pour our hair out, and all those things because we knew what we were experiencing, and some of those things you can't just talk to anybody about, and then some
Right.
things you don't want to say in public, and then some people would not understand. So it really was a great space for us to be
Mhm.
able to connect and
Right.
share and learn from one another, and just talk about the stuff that we wanted to talk about, and like you said,
Right.
brag on our boys, because we love
Exactly.
them and we're so proud of them. And
Right.
whether it's a win, it's a loss, of a game,
Right.
still for us, for our sons to thrive, be happy, and to be doing something that they love,
Right.
and for us to get to support them is a beautiful thing. So I love that there are so many different groups, and now this space is growing.
Right.
So like you said, there's still time. The space is
Right.
growing where you're seeing moms that are involved now as managers,
Right.
as agents.
Right.
There's the Can We Talk Sports
Mhm.
Instagram page, and all that they're doing with their conferences. And then there's another a woman who I know, she started a Black Sports Moms.
Mhm.
Uh, like, they do conferences, and she's an attorney, and now a lot of people are working more on the business end to support
Right.
their kids in sports. So it's a space that's growing. One of the reasons why I started the podcast is
Right.
because I was like, we just have so many interesting conversations.
Yeah.
I just wanted to just sit and really just talk and laugh and have fun and share things. And I kind of wanted to get on after the games and just chop it up. We could talk a
Oh
little
yeah,
trash.
yeah, yeah.
And I still, like you, with life and work,
Right.
hadn't been able to just, sink my teeth in and do all that I would love to have done, but there's still time. And
Right.
I really feel connected, with moms like you. And I feel that there's so much more that we can share, because who not everybody knew, that you were an educator for so many years. Not everybody knew that now you're working with this foundation that is
Right.
helping families, throughout the state of
Right.
Texas, and more, because people can learn from you, even if they're not living in Texas. You're a resource, or you're someone that they can learn from, and maybe tap into, for help in different areas. So I love that about us, because we're moms, and we're women first,
Right.
right?
Right. Right.
And we just have so many facets of ourselves that,
Right.
it's great to be able to share.
Yeah.
So I love the fact that, you've been able to come on and talk with me and be able to share. And I really do look forward to, getting to a place where we'll be able to share more and do more, because I feel like if I can get together with you and support your foundation, and
Mhm.
then anything that I'm working on,
Right.
I know James said at Cleveland, she's working on,
Right.
uh, a lot of things to educate families, etc. Anytime we can, support each other, it's a beautiful thing.
I know, and we all met through Stacy, so we have her
Yeah,
to.
yes. Isn't that wonderful? And Stacy and I would just talk, and then she said, we. We just have so many different stories, and girl, we got to, find a way to, like, support each
Yes.
other. And
Yes.
then college football moms came about. It's a beautiful,
Right.
beautiful thing.
Yeah. Yeah. So, like you said, there's still time. I would like to,
Uh-huh.
get more into that, and but
Mhm.
there's still time. There's time.
Yeah.
I said to my daughter the other day, I was like, I'm not ready to not be an NFL mom. But then I was like,
Yeah,
I guess I'm always going to be an NFL mom. Like, he
that's
made
the
it, so
thing.
you will be, forever. I mean, not that we still believe that, and we're
Yeah.
praying that, he'll get a year 7 contract. He's
Mhm.
had a couple of different teams interested, and talking to his agent, and went on a couple of workouts. And so, we're still hoping and believing. You never know what can happen. And so I just, this space is hard to navigate too, when the unknown, it's hard to navigate. And he's hanging in there. And like I said, he wasn't, he didn't have the best taste in his mouth leaving the Raiders.
Mhm.
Um, but that's not a good feeling, having
Mhm.
to be, when you were a starter, and then you're on the
Yes.
practice squad, and then you don't get back out there, and be on the true roster, and then getting cut. That's it's a lot to deal with. And
It
so
is. It
he
is.
kind of didn't have the best taste in his mouth leaving there. But when he got home, and we talked to him, obviously both his dad and I, and
Mhm.
he's like, okay, you know what, I think I'm going to hang in there. I'm going to give it a go. And so, he's been working relentlessly, and we're thankful for, the teams that have called and inquired, and the workouts he's been on. And I'm just
Yeah.
prayerful and hopeful that it happens. But like I said, my prayer is just always, God, put him where you want him,
Mm.
and if this is, if this is it for the NFL, if it doesn't happen this season, um, I think he'll probably say, you know what, I'm done. And of course, that'll be an adjustment for everybody. But I always try to just say, you know what, never in a million years would we have dreamed that he would have played 6 years in the NFL, you know, that you would have gotten a call at the very end of the 2019 draft, that you would have played in a Cowboys uniform, that you made a 53-man roster for 3 years, you know, that you played enough games to be an NFL vet. Like,
Mhm.
that's just, you know, you've made so many of your dreams come true. And he knows that. He knows that. But I know that as an athlete,
Mhm.
when it's done, it's going to be hard.
It is.
And as a football mom, when it's done, it's going to be hard.
Yes. How
And
about
I hate to say that because a lot of people won't understand that,
yeah.
but it's hard. You know,
And
it's gonna be hard. But I
it's
also
going to
know
be
that I can't complain. I've
right.
been completely and absolutely, you know, we've been blessed that he did make it out of college and make it that 1%, you know. So,
Mhm.
you know, I'll be honest, I've been struggling quite a bit with,
Mhm.
is this it? You
Yeah.
know, are we done? And even struggling when he was struggling
Mm.
of just don't give up, you know. And not that he was at that point, but he is a 20-year-old, 8-year-old man. He is married. He's got children. He's not coming to me with all the things that he may, you know, used to come to me with. You know,
Yes.
he's talking to his wife about that, and that's good and that's fine and that's great. But as his mom, I know, you know, that that was a lot, you know, and it's a lot. And so it's just, like I said, completely transparent and honest. I haven't been in the best place
Mhm.
mentally, so to speak, with all
Mm.
of that because you just don't know. You know,
Mm.
I'm trying to stay positive, and I am a positive person. Like I said, at the end of the day, he did it.
Mm.
He checked off a lot of things that he said he
Yeah.
wanted to do, and we're absolutely proud of that. But it's
Mhm.
just a weird thing when the end, when you feel like the end may be coming or the end is near, you know?
Well,
Um,
I totally understand what you're saying, and you're feeling it on a level above.
mhm.
Um, but people don't understand this part. They don't understand where how invested you are.
Right.
You've been that way all these years of his life.
Right.
You know that he's been playing and with his
Since he was
hopes and his
5.
dreams. Yes, and that's when my son started playing at 5. And so all the steps that you've taken to get to this place, and just how, like you said, people don't really understand that, and sometimes they may not understand where that is coming from. It's not so much that you just want to be a football mom, and
Mhm.
it's just so much the lights and the camera and the
Right.
action, but it's a dream that
Right.
your son has had,
Right.
and it's a passion of his, and you're passionate about it as well.
Right.
So like you said, when you get to a place where now there's that transition, it's
Mhm.
not as easy. It could just be anything, whatever you're doing in life. It's the same thing. It's a sport, but it's a profession. And
Right.
I understood it when my son played in college. And we all knew that the next level was the NFL for him. But then he had two injuries that
Mhm.
changed the game for him.
Mhm.
So, as much as everybody kept saying, no, just go here, go to Canada, do this, do
Yeah.
that, and just keep plugging and wait. Well, why don't you go try out?
Yeah.
And for him to come to a place where, first of all, it was like he never saw this happening, that he
No.
was going to be drafted and play in the
Right.
NFL. And then, okay, I'm not playing right now. And I can do all of these things, but also realizing that your body is not in the
Right.
shape that it should be. And so you can just keep fighting and you can keep going through, or you can just kind of say, you know what, I think I'm good. I know it was tough for him.
Right.
And it's been tough
Absolutely.
for me. And like
Yes.
I said, it has you in a mental space where you really have to be okay, and you have to be positive and the support system for them.
Right.
And you're praying that they're okay.
Right.
You have to be in that space where you're the support system for them, and you have to pray that they're going to be okay. You're watching, to make sure that mentally they're
Right.
good, and then you're trying to process it and then kind of switch gears
Yeah.
when all you've been doing for the last like 4 years, I'm going to football games.
Yeah.
When I'm speaking in college, actually it was 6 years.
Right.
So I'm making travel plans on
Right.
weekends. I'm
Right.
working at work so that I can get my work done. And on Fridays and Saturdays and
Yeah.
Sundays,
Yeah.
I'm out.
Right.
So
Right.
it's a lot,
It is.
and it's tough on the moms and the fathers and the rest of the family too.
Right.
And people don't really realize that, which is another reason why groups like yours and
Right.
college football moms and just places where you can actually connect with people who share your experience. That's why it is so important. Such a good thing.
Right. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's going to be, and I'm like I said, I'm still hoping and praying that we
Yes.
had some calls, and things like I
Good.
don't think it's over, but you never know. We had that conversation. I was like, a lot of people don't get to tell the NFL when they're through with them. The NFL tells you
How about
when
that?
they're through with you. So you just have to be mentally and you have to be prepared for that. And it's
Mhm.
not, I know that he's already looking kind of to the future and thinking about what might be next, because he's not the kind of guy that's just gonna sit around and do nothing. He can't.
Yeah.
Um,
Right.
and I'm not sure he made enough money to do that, because
Okay.
the way the retirement works, he is vested in the NFL. He gets full retirement, but
Good, good.
they don't get that until I believe they're 45.
Oh, really?
He's 28, and
So he
so and when I talk to people about that, they're like, "Really? I thought that," And I said, "From what that's what his is, but it must be things that came about in these latest collective bargaining agreements."
Mhm.
Um, so not to say that he's not really well set up for life, right? But he's just not the kind of person that's gonna not do anything. So he's kind of been looking and just thinking, like, what do I want to do next? And I don't know what that is. He used to talk about coaching. He's mentioned military. I think he gave that up. He's mentioned police officer, uh,
Uh-huh.
fireman. So he's
He's still figuring it out.
all over the place. He's kind of still figuring it out, and I know he will. But like I said, we're hoping and praying that we do get another year or two. I think he has
Yeah.
another good year or two in him, even
Yeah.
with the injuries. He's back to, he's still same playing weight. I mean, he's where he needs to be
Good.
mentally, physically, emotionally, and like you said, he has been talked about as a leader in places that he's been, and even just recently on a workout that he went to, they didn't end up signing any of the receivers, but his agent said that they told her he is a total pro. Like,
Mhm.
he is a total pro. And so
Mhm.
at first, when she tells me, I'm like, oh, well, maybe they told everybody that. And then I'm thinking, they probably didn't, because
No.
they
They're
probably
not.
didn't, because they're really brutal. So, you know,
Right.
I think I'm just happy that, he has given himself that kind of name in the business that he went into, and with his passion. And, you're just happy as a mom that other people see what he has to offer. And I think that's another thing that's really bittersweet, because you're like, he has all this to offer.
Mm.
Somebody put him on the field, somebody sign him. And then when they're not, it's hard. All those things are hard. And I know it is with every parent and everything that a child does, but it's just
Mhm.
accelerated on a whole different level. I feel like, being an
I
NFL
think
player,
so.
because they
Yeah.
are put on such a pedestal. And
Mhm.
at the end of the day, we're just their moms. At the end of the day, they're just our sons, they're boys.
Yes.
They're just following their dream and their passion. And so, yeah, but it's like I said, I have been struggling a bit, but trying to stay positive and hopeful. And I know that whatever God has next for him that I'll be excited about. So,
Yeah. And that's a good thing because, sometimes, I remember even like when my son was playing here in Los Angeles at UCLA, and you'd meet people, and if you mention that your son plays football on Saturday or he's at UCLA, oh my goodness, that's your son, and people know, but then there's no football, there's still that guy, and so like
right.
you said, we have to like I don't post as much, but he's very private. So I don't post as
Jalen
much.
is too. I have
Yeah,
to watch what I say and what I, yeah, because he's very
right.
private. Yeah.
Right. But it's like that pride is still there in everything, that he's doing no matter what. Um
Right.
the football was just that's something that came after the fact, right? And they just happen to be good at it
Right.
and to have an
Right.
opportunity to play. And some people don't even make it to be able to play in college. And then, my son transferred from UCLA after he graduated, and he played for a season at Oklahoma. And that was as soon as he got to
That's right.
Oklahoma,
Yeah. Yeah.
before the season even started, he tore his Achilles, and he had just
Yeah.
come from a season off from an injury, and he gave it his all and looked damn good out there. But again, like you said, there's the business, and it's kind of like, are we really going to invest? Like, because they want you when they want you, and they want you now, and they want you to
Right.
give this, but sometimes when they have to give a little bit, there's no time, for that. So you have to do what's best for you, and you want to be, like you said, first and foremost where God wants you to be, and then you want to be where they want you to be.
Right.
you know,
Absolutely.
because you don't want to be over with, the Raiders. You don't want to be
Right.
there and
And not be happy about it. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
absolutely.
Right.
So I
And
get
he
that.
would have been completely happy. He would have been completely happy there had he been on the field, even though
Right,
they had a
right.
terrible year. They had a horrible year.
Mhm.
I know that if he were on the field contributing in a way that he felt, you know, when you've been there, it's hard to take that step back.
Yeah,
And I think that's with any profession. But um, he just wants to be on the field contributing and doing what he loves. That's when they're athletes, when they're
that's
little, that's what they want. Yeah.
that's true. That's
They
exactly
just
what they
want
want.
to be on the field, helping your team. They just want to help your team. That's the big thing. Um,
Yes.
so yeah,
Wonderful. Well, I so appreciate you, talking with me. We can talk and,
I know we can do this all night.
I know. And so it's just great to be able to take time to sit with you. Tell me again, is it Be an Angel? That's the name of your foundation?
Yes, yes. It's
Okay.
beanangel.org.
Beanangel.org.
Hmm.
Awesome. And that's in Texas,
Yes.
just for families who may be in need of some assistance when it
Right.
comes to equipment and such. And I know you're doing a lot of things. Like I see you working with like church and school with fundraisers and things
Mhm,
like that.
mhm,
So that's one of the things that I really do admire about you, because I'd send you
mhm.
messages and like post different times, but I just love your sense of community and service, to people, and then your family dynamics is just so special. So
Thank
I'm
you.
really glad that we got a chance to sit down. Um, to everyone who has listened, we will have the full episode on the Mama Bear podcast on In the Den with Mama Bear. That's the name of our YouTube channel. And I thank you for joining me and Brandee Guyton. And there will be other conversations. We're going to come back and we're going to just have a little bit of fun with some other NFL moms. And then also follow Brandee on Moms of the NFL on Instagram. And of course, like, share, and follow me on YouTube on In the Den with Mama Bear. And we'll do this again soon. So
Thank
thank
you so
you,
much.
Brandee.
I enjoyed
Absolutely.
it.